Hi, Charles. How are you?
Oh, I'm alright, sir. How are you?
Great, thank you. I'm wondering where the rest of the people are. Do you know if they're joining us or if it's just going to be you and me?
Oh, yeah, they're joining. Mambo was saying he was purchasing some bundles. I think we'll be in very soon.
Well, I actually meant the rest of the class.
Yeah, they might join. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure if maybe most of the people are up for the meeting. But I'm not really sure. But this is an important meeting, so I think they'll attend. Since he's talking about the stuff that you need to do in the proposals, so yeah, I think they'll join. Probably.
Okay. All right, then we'll just hope that they're going to join us very, very soon. Just give it a few more minutes. If they don't, that's fine as well. We will see.
Yes.
All right, so then I'll just pause and then wait until maybe 17:05, maybe 17:10, and then we can start when we have slightly more people in the room. I see Peter just joined us. Okay.
Okay, sure.
All right. So if you just joined us, I was just telling the others that we'll give it a few more minutes before we start. We seem to have very few people, but that's fine. We will start nonetheless, even if people don't join us. All right. Let's see. Great. So just a few more minutes. We'll probably start at 17, maybe 17:05, maybe 17:10. Let's just pause and see if we'll have more people join us. But as we're waiting, I'm wondering if there's been a few people have had conversations or discussions around Friday classes. There was no response whatsoever, so I'm not sure what that means. But hello, can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? Or people are leaving. I'm wondering what the problem is now. Okay, it's fine. So for those of you in the in the room right now. I was asking a question. I wanted to find out if you've had, if you've agreed as a class, if we can sneak in a Friday class. In one of the emails, I'd mentioned that I'd actually proposed that we start having an additional class on Fridays. I'd also mentioned that we plan to change the structure of the interaction such that we'll have live lectures now, not pre-recorded screencasts, which is why I propose that we have a Friday class. We discussed this as a class. Can anyone hear me? It's like I'm speaking to myself and I'm wondering what's going on here. Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Well, thank you very much. Don't mute your microphone. Could you tell us, have you had a discussion around whether we can have a Friday class in addition to the Thursday interaction?
Not yet.
What are you waiting for?
People are not responding, I guess, in the group.
People are not what?
They were not responding.
Okay. Can I ask a question? Out of the four of you in here, is there anybody who would be uncomfortable with a Friday class, let's say at 16 hours or 17 hours? Do you have any classes in your other minors or something?
So that time is just fine. For me personally, I don't have a class.
Remind me again, what's your minor, Mary?
Religious studies.
Okay, so that's fine for you. And the rest of you? Peter, you have class on Fridays at 16 hours. No answer. Mwewa, do you have class on Fridays at 16 hours? No answer. Wow. The apathy is crazy. Oh, okay.
Mwelwa has left.
Hawkins, do you have class
Maybe Hawkins.
on Fridays?
No.
Okay. All right, then I guess we'll just we'll decide that we'll start having class on Fridays at 16 hours then. I'm just going to assume that everybody is available. If people decide not to join us, that's fine. If they decide to join us, that would be good as well. Just one more minute and then we will start. Any issues with the project? Hawkins, have you guys started looking into the implementation part? Have you started thinking about the implementations, researching in terms of implementation?
But we are researching.
Okay. Is 3010 somewhat useful in helping you figure out what you need to do?
Not yet, sir, because we recently started meeting, so we haven't reached that part whereby we'll be able to know that this video is. We just started.
What do you mean you just started? I thought the last conversation we had, I'd asked if how far you had gone. I think somebody was saying that you had actually started looking at database design or something, SQL and all those good things. I'm surprised that
I haven't yet started looking at SQL, but we're just doing database design, which we were doing the ER models.
Okay.
Yes.
And do you think that there's aspects of your project that require that you design a database? Now, I know, granted, you only get to discover specifics once we look at, I guess, the first part of requirements engineering, which is elicitation. But surely you should have an idea as to what sort of implementation you're eventually going to settle for. Do you think you need a relational database management system for what you're doing?
Right now, sir, I haven't really researched, so I'll know later, sir.
Okay. Also, I just wanted to find out, my audio is a bit bad. I do apologize. I'm working from campus today, and so I'm using a very, very primitive setup. It's crazy headsets. I hope my audio is good enough, though. It's quite sad, really, but I had to come to campus, and usually when I'm on campus, I use these really horrible headsets. I mean, they're not really that bad, but anyways. Is there a group that has been able to, based on the content that you've covered in 3010 so far, is there a group that's been able to put a couple of things together by way of trying to figure out whether or not you're going to need a relational database management system for what you're doing or not? Besides Hawkins' group, apparently Hawkins' group is still doing research, whatever that means. Good luck with the research, Master Hawkins. But is there a group which has been looking at implementation aspects of what you do, of what we're doing? You remember there was a time when I advised us to start researching things that will not be introduced to you in, let's say, 3010, for instance. Things like exploration of APIs, right? Because it turns out that the vast majority of you are going to be playing around with APIs. There's this idea of mobile app development for some of you, right? There's no course, at least last time I checked, there was no course. There's no course which is going to introduce you to mobile app development. The idea is that the knowledge you acquired in 2010 is more than sufficient, especially if you just decide to use, I guess, a platform-specific technology, right? Let's say you want to develop for the Android platform, all you have to do is, I guess, use Java, right? Of course, I mean, as a group, if you decide to be fancy, maybe you can go the Kotlin route and whatnot. Perhaps if you're feeling even more adventurous, you can just get up to speed with JavaScript and make do with some of these popular cross-platform mobile frameworks like Ionic, for instance, and so-called React Native, or maybe Flutter, I don't know. But these are things to think about. There's nowhere in, I don't think in 3010 you cover that, although it would have been nice if you covered that, mobile app development. So you probably should be using this time to get up to speed with the implementation aspects that have nothing to do with 3010, for instance. Is this making sense to people? Maybe it's kind of weird arrangement here. All right, so I'm going to, fine. I'm going to share my screen. The reason, like I said in my email, the reason we're having this interaction here is to make sure that we are doing the right thing, because it turns out that the next phase or the next set of deliverables assume that you've done the correct thing at proposal stage. And specifically, these are more concerned about, and this is not the next stage, but I'm more concerned about the research questions and the objectives. If you've noticed, almost all of you, those of you that have bothered to look at other people's project documents, for instance, what you'll have noticed is that I prescribed certain changes to the research questions and the objectives. The idea behind doing that is twofold. Number one, the focus on this is supposed to be software engineering. We are learning, and so we want to to make it relatively easy for you to do some of these things, which is why I was prescribing for most of you to just stick to 2 research questions. The first part of the research question is essentially centered around feasibility, right? The idea of feasibility is linked to design and implementation. So that objective or research question is meant to help you work towards the design and implementation of the artifact. But it turns out that designing and implementing the artifact in itself is not sufficient. So what do we do instead? We say we are going to measure the effect or the impact of the artifact that we're developing, which is why for some of you, I was throwing in evaluation aspects like usefulness, for instance. In certain instances, I do believe there's 1 or 2 projects which I prescribe that they focus on effectiveness, right? So the idea is for us to just use those 2 objectives to make sure that we are able to design and implement the artifact and to measure its relative impact, right? I don't know if you can see my screen. I have just shared my screen. I see we have 11 people. That's good enough. Right, so I do hope you've taken note of that. So, like I said, this interaction is meant to just briefly walk through some comments that you've probably come across in your respective documents. Now, I'm tempted to, and I think we will do this. I will also upload the annotated, the graded proposal presentations and the proposal documents so that people can go through the other documents to gain a sense of how others did things, right? It turns out that there are certain groups that really did an amazing job at working towards the related work section, for instance, like project team number 5, for instance, Elijah, Nelly, and company, right? And so I feel there's a lot that we can learn from that. And the reason we want to do that is because it turns out that we are going to repeat this process as part of the drafting of the final report. So I thought would walk through these things, right? And hopefully this is going to be helpful. Something else I should mention here is I had hinted at the fact that we would go through the proposals one at a time. At the time, I just thought maybe we'll just pick out a few important things and then hopefully people will be able to map some of the things we discussed to their respective projects. I'm aware of the time here. Something else I was mentioning before the rest of you joined us is I was asking Hawkins, Mary, and I think Peter to find out if you have agreed as a group on whether the Friday interaction is okay. They seem fine with this. I will assume that it's okay, in which case we have an interaction tomorrow at 16, unless if there's someone in the room who has class tomorrow at 16. No, okay. All right, so we're just briefly going to walk through these very generic aspects here. These are linked to both the proposal document and the presentation. So in terms of the presentation, this includes the design of the slides, the design of the screencast, the coordination as you were doing your presentations. Yeah, so all of those things were taken into account when grading the proposal. I just wanted to mention up front that this is it's a phased project, right? In case you've forgotten, there's a document that was uploaded to the Moodle, and I think we went through this document at length that outlines the marks associated to each phase. If you think about it, so far, we have gone through the analysis phase, right? So we're done with the proposal document and the proposal presentation. Now, I thought I would mention this because one of you reached out to me and they seemed worried because they got a really low mark as a group. And so they were misrepresenting the grade that they got. It was a really bad grade. And they thought that they had lost out on about 33.3% of the marks, which I thought was very strange. To remind you that the proposal deliverables, the document and the presentation, account for 4 marks of the entire course, right? This 4 marks is nothing more than 4% of the entire course grade, obviously, and 8% of the group of the CA, right? So just keep that in mind. There's still an opportunity. If you're one of those groups that has gotten a really horrible grade, a bad grade, there's an opportunity for you to improve, right? You notice that there's more marks up for grabs here. But also to emphasize that these things that we are going to be embarking upon going forward are going to be dependent or contingent on the fact that you've done the right thing in subsequent phases. So before your respective group works towards the requirements analysis and design assignment, which is going to be shared very, very soon, you want to make sure that you go through those comments that were shared. These are very detailed comments, right? An emphasis was, like I said, an emphasis was placed on the objectives and the research questions. Very important. So you want to do that. I hope this is clear. Please feel free to interrupt me if you need the clarification on any of these, any of the things I'm going to be talking about. We don't have to wait until the end here. Right, so like I was saying, I mean, refining your proposals is extremely important. I'm not going to go through your refined proposals, but I'm just going to assume that you've done the correct thing. If at all if at all your respective group wishes confirmation or something, you're welcome to schedule an interaction with Lighton, right? We can agree on a short interaction, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, so that we go through what you've done to verify that you've done the correct thing. This especially applies to those of you that submitted either incomplete work or work that makes no sense at all, right? The other reason you want to do this is because certain parts of this assignment, and specifically this part here, the proposal report that you're going to generate at the end, and the presentation you do at the end, is going to be a replica of what you did at proposal stage. So you will write the report using the same format, obviously. You will have to create a screencast. Maybe we'll do live presentations this time around, right? Similar to what you did at proposal presentation. You will need to prepare slides as well. So take these comments very seriously, because if you take them into account, you're bound to get a slightly higher mark than you got, right? That's clear. Right, so in terms of the mark distribution, I'm sure you've hopefully taken time as a group to discuss the comments together collectively and to take note of where you can improve upon. In case you haven't, I'm just going to reiterate some of these things. I'm using the high scoring proposal as an exemplar here. So Jackson, Mary, Mwewa, Laxon, and Wezi's group got the highest mark for the proposal document, so they got 73%. You will notice when I share the graded documents that they could have done much better than they did, right? Unfortunately, there are a couple of things that they missed out, right? And hopefully people have taken note of these things here. Specifically, I think the parts, if you look at the mark distribution, the parts where they missed out on a number of things here is the related work section, right? And I'm going to open up their document because it best exemplifies some fundamental flaws, right, in what they did. So if I open up their report, what you notice for their, if I open up their their report, what you notice for their related work is it's practically, I mean, they only reviewed one piece of literature, right? Just one, which was a bit strange for me. I wasn't really expecting this. Very, very strange, actually. Just one literature was surveyed. But even worse still, this one literature that was surveyed was not referenced anywhere, right? So they don't cite details of this project that they made reference to, which I thought was was quite unfortunate here, right? So as a result, they actually ended up losing quite a bit of marks here, related work section. So this is all tied to the comprehensiveness of the content, right? So we're looking at things like the project description, where you're able to describe what it is you're working towards. And these were 10 easy marks because all you had to do is just expand upon the brief description that was provided to you in that project topic specification document. The part that required a little bit of thinking here was a problem statement, where the expectation was that you would, number one, you'd explicitly state what the problem was, right? That's the whole point of the problem statement. But also, in addition to that, you're expected to provide some background details to do with the project itself. And then more importantly, we were expecting to see the objective of this project and the specific objectives spawned from the main objective of the project. Right, so clearly this group did a really good job at crafting their problem statement here, although they could have done better, right? The only flaw was in the related work part. Now, I saw Elijah join the group here. I think Elijah's team, together with Victor's team, have exemplar documents that did the right thing insofar as the related work section is concerned. Observe what Elijah's team did, right? If you look at what they did, you will realize that there was a lot of thought that went into what they did here, right? And really citing, simply coming up with a data dump is not enough. What you want to do is you want to critique existing work. You identify gaps, similarities associated with what you did. So if you look at Elijah's team, for instance, they got 10 out of 10 for related work. I thought they did a wonderful job of reviewing existing work, right? Look at what they did. 3 separate projects surveyed. In each of these different projects, you'll notice that they provide citations, right? It's not just a data dump. They highlight the relationship between what they're doing and the work that they're surveying, the gaps, the differences. That's the whole point of related work section. It's supposed to be a critique, right? You identify gaps, you critique related work, you point out the similarities. I thought this was wonderful. The other group that did a really amazing job at this is group number 12. Now, group number 12 is it's an unfortunate case of submitting their work late, but nonetheless, we don't discriminate. Even if you submitted your work late, we did provide you with sufficient comments to help you improve. So if you notice, this is a bad example, sorry. I don't think it's group number 12. I wonder who those were. Could it be Hawkins' team? I wonder, I don't know. This is a bad example, sorry. It's not group number 12. It has to be, I wonder if it's Hawkins' team, I don't know. Or maybe it could be group number 16. Yeah, Hawkins' team is yet another group that did a really an unfortunate work at the at the related work part, right? Which is quite sad, really, but it's neither here nor there. Let's see. Yet another bad example here. Got nothing. There's no related work here. I'm wondering which group that was. Is there anyone in the room whose group got, let's say, 10 out of 10 or above 5 for the related work section? Which group? Yeah, this is another bad example here. I'm wondering which group this was. Could it be Mwamba's group? I wonder. I don't know. Yeah, bad example. Wow, this is weird. Anyway, Elijah's group, if you want to understand exactly how you should improve when you're writing, it's a horrible example as well. When you're writing the related work section, if you want to understand what you want to do, please use project team number 5's document as an exemplar, right? In fact, it is listed as an exemplar. So essentially, this is what we're looking for, right? In terms of the comprehensiveness of the content itself. But what you'd have noticed is that there were marks allocated to details to do with the project management aspect of the document itself. What we were expecting was for you guys to clearly spell out details to do with project management. So risk management, the project timeline, the work breakdown structure, right? And you notice that this was just plug and play, really. You are pulling out the artifacts that you generated as part of those minor assignments that were, in most instances, not graded at all, right? So you're just plugging in things that you already did. Again, using this exemplar document, you notice that these guys, right? Jackson's group did a pretty decent job. The only problem here is they left out details to do with the resources that they were going to incorporate, that they were going to use as part of their project, right? This is both the human resource and any other hardware and software resources that you think are important or are worth mentioning. They unfortunately lost some marks in the project timeline because what we were doing as part of the project timeline is we were very particular about the things. This is a bad example. Sorry, it's not this document. We're very particular about the things you were including in your timeline. So if we go back to this project team number 20, for instance, you will notice that these guys, right, even though they have a really nice timeline here, but it has details that simply don't make sense, right? It's nice, aesthetically pleasing and whatnot, but the timeline doesn't make sense, right? According to them, they're going to finish the project in July. Now, I'll ask, maybe if that's the case, we can easily make changes to this, to the marks. Mwewa is in the room, and I see Mary is in the room. Mary, are you planning to finish your project before the end of this month?
No.
Okay, so you want to revise this timeline, right? It doesn't make sense. Something else that was missing here, right, is that the only thing that you don't have specific deliverables included here, right? So these are things to think about. You want to carefully think about these things as you're working through these artifacts, and please revise them if need be the case. And still on the topic of revising these timelines, I mentioned for some of you to say, revise the timelines relative to this thing here. This is a full year course. So what you should do is revise your respective timelines to take into account the revised session dates. According to the revised session dates, term number 2 comes to an end. Is it second week of September or something? I could be wrong here. First week of September. So I do encourage all of you to refine your timelines so that everything ends here on the 6th of November, on or before the 6th of November, right? I hope that's clear. And it turns out that this mistake is not just, this mistake was not just made by project team number 20. If you look at the other team that did some pretty decent work at their document here, this is project team number 5. If we go to their timeline, horrible looking timeline, right? But you notice they claim, Elijah, you're in the room. I see Ivy is in the room as well. Are you planning as a group to go beyond up to 2021?
Oh, no, sir.
Okay, so why would you do this then, right? So this doesn't make sense. These are things you want to seriously think about these things, because this timeline, by the way, this timeline is not for Lighton. It's not for the sake of the marks alone. It's meant to help you do the right things on or before the specified dates, right? If you notice that you go beyond a certain time frame, then you adjust the timeline accordingly. That's the point of the project timeline. It's not just there for you to present your proposal and submit the proposal document. Do you understand this, right? So there were a number of mistakes that were being made. If you look at this group as well, you notice that they didn't bother to include milestones and deliverables here, right? Which I thought was quite sad, really. Very, very sad indeed. All right. I hope you're taking out all these things that are going to pop up very, very soon. Something else that was used as part of the rubric is the styling and formatting. Templates. These were 3 easy marks. 3 easy marks. All you had to do was download the template like this group did, like Elijah's group did. You download the template, and then you just replace the markup text that was in there. I fail to understand why a group like group number 1, which is Hawkins' group, would decide to, Hawkins, why did you decide to do your own thing? Why did you decide to use a template with a single color as opposed to something that was prescribed to you? Is there a reason why you guys decided to go your own way? You decided to include all these fancy things. I bet you thought when you were working on this, you thought you were coming up with something wonderful. It is wonderful, but surprise, surprise, it doesn't conform to the specification. Now here's a random story I have for you. I have been part of project teams that have been bidding for these projects where we are told for you to provide the CVs for the respective team members, use this format. Whether that format is ugly or not, we have to do that because it's part of the criteria that that entity will use to evaluate the bids. So whether or not you thought that this format here is not good enough, you wanted to use up, that's consequential, right? All you had to do was just follow the rules and use the prescribed format. Do you have a response to that? Matthews, Hawkins? Why did you decide to use this format?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, these are things to think about, right? So you lost out on marks because clearly you used the wrong template. If you look at the breakdown of marks, this is the reason why you got 0 for the template. The formatting, you lost out on the marks. Why? Because if you look at the template, the headings are supposed to be formatted in a certain way. Observe what Elijah and Mwewankata and Jackson's teams were doing. Level 1 headings, all uppercase. Level 2 headings, title casing. You understand this? Follow the rules, right? And it turns out that the template itself has specifics on the font face you're supposed to use, the font sizes you're supposed to use. It turns out that this is all important information because it helps us ensure that we are objective when we are marking. It helps us figure out whether or not you are adhering to certain requirements like the maximum number of words. Right? So next time, just follow the rules, use the template, right? Do what these guys did, right? Beautiful stuff, right? They were clearly, and you notice that these guys were smart enough to use the template because if you look at Jackson's name, for instance, there's this dagger icon here. You find this in the template. It's clear that what these guys did was they just put the template and they just replaced the placeholders, and it's not that hard, right? Although I was pretty disappointed that they decided to go their own way here. Like if you look at the numbering, the ACM template does not start enumeration at 1.0, no, right? So just make sure you follow the right rules next time and include all the important aspects like the CCS concepts we are missing for almost everyone, actually. That's important information that you're supposed to include. So there was also an aspect to do with grammar here, right? So it's not really important, but at this stage, at third year, we expect better from you guys. We expect that you're able to write coherently, you're able to communicate effectively, right? Because guess what? You're only remaining with a year before you go out there, right? So this is an art that you want to perfect before you leave the UNZA. Granted, I mean, the marks we had here is just 2 marks here. And then there were marks allocated to citation and referencing, right? And what we were doing here is just making sure that you guys were using the correct reference style and the citation style, right? So these things here. I do have a comment here. I'm wondering what this is. Anyway, I thought these guys, Jackson and Tim, I don't know who else is in the room here, but I don't know if this is the group, but I noticed something very, oh, it's not the group, it is, I'm wondering why they lost out on citation and referencing. I guess the citation and referencing is because you have missing citation in certain instances, like a related work section here, right? Good stuff. And then something else we had was penalties associated with what you were taught to do. You were instructed to ensure that you collaboratively edit this document. Now, I'll be the first one to tell you this, right? I know for a fact, looking at this document, I know for a fact that, and I know, by the way, if you think I don't know, then you're mistaken. I know that there are certain group members that are probably putting in far too much work than the others, right? It's fine, I guess, but but if you're one of those people who is not contributing equally, you're doing yourself a disadvantage, right? You're doing yourself a disservice. You're putting yourself at a disadvantage because guess what? Whether you decide to go for the minimum thing in life where you go down the path that has been paved for you, where you are trained so that you go and teach other people to do these things, you will have to teach them how to do this. Those of you that will end up becoming like light on teaching, but maybe teaching in high school, for instance, you'll be expected to teach students how to do what you're doing right now, how to write these reports, how to conduct small spec studies, right? Now, if you don't understand how to do this right now, if you can't teach yourself how to do this right now, if you don't take advantage of this opportunity, when are you going to learn? Right? This is something to think about here. I know, right? I know that these high scoring projects, for instance, I know for a fact that for this particular group, I know the people that are putting in the most effort. I can tell, right? Some of these people I've interacted with, so I know their writing style, so I know who's doing what, right? Some of these people I've interacted with, and so anyway, so just make sure that you at least try to contribute. Now, the penalty here, right? The penalty is associated with activity in the drive. Observe, I'm going to use an example of a group that somewhat did the right thing. For starters, if you look at Hawkins' team, group project number 1, where are you? There we go. You'll notice that as part of collaboration, they did lose a mark because there's, I think, one group team member which didn't contribute equally. But there's some groups where you had literally everyone contributing. I'm not sure which group that is, but I wonder if it's, wow. I wish I could find a group that didn't lose marks here. There is a group, I know there is.
So can I say something real quick about the collaboration?
Yes, Moha, please.
So for my group, it was my mistake. What happened was Drive makes several copies of the document.
Yeah.
And so the original document had everyone contributing, but it kept making different copies. And so I didn't want to accidentally upload the wrong one onto Moodle. So I deleted the originals.
Yeah.
And I kept the finished one, but the finished one didn't have the collaboration saved on it. So that's why it looked like only a few people worked on it, as well as the presentation part. Like everyone contributed, but
yeah. No, I understand that. If you notice, I don't know if you can still see my screen, right? I understand how Drive works. When you delete a copy, you won't be able to see, like I wouldn't be able to see specifics of who. If we open up your document, for instance, the way that we're able to see whether or not people are contributing here to your document is we'll open up your proposal, right? And then look at the changes, right? If you look at the historical changes, the only person that says Lakson and Mwewankata, but also, if you look at your Drive itself, there's a historical record of who's doing what. I can't see Mary here. There's no Mary here. In fact, Mary only did something, I think she last contributed something to this Drive in June, right? There's nothing that speaks to the fact that, oh, I think there's Mary here. Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. Well, in that case, here's the thing. Thanks for that pointer. If you can restore, because this thing has a way of ensuring that you restore a copy of that document from the trash, right? If you can point us to the copy that was in the trash, that is in the trash, that can speak to the fact that someone contributed something to this Drive, then we can make adjustments to the score, actually, And also, on that note, the reason you are given comments is so that you verify that Lighton was doing the right thing here. I'm a human being. Maybe I might have deducted marks where I shouldn't have deducted marks. So if you notice that there's an anomaly in the way the marking was done, go through these things with your group and then tell me to say, we think that when you were grading the aspect to do with styling, we think that we still deserve a mark. Can you clarify why you deducted a mark, right? So if the collaboration, if you can prove that there was some sort of collaboration or a contribution coming in from all the team members, show us, and then we can readjust this. But what we were expecting to see is observe an exemplar group. Group number 1, I think. Classic. If I open this document, I can see, with the exception of one group member, I can see that these people, right? These people are really serious at this. And you can actually see that going back to June here, way back in May actually, is when they started working on this document, right? You can literally see the changes that they were making. We can see that there's thinking going into this, there's collaboration taking place, and this is what we want. By the way, this is part of what we are doing as part of this course, to train you to work as part of a larger group, to be able to collaborate effectively, not to leech, right, from other people. I was disappointed, however, that Stephen did nothing here. I can't see Stephen. I don't know if he's still around, but there's nothing here from Stephen, which is quite sad. Right, so if you see a -1 on the comment, it's stemming from the fact that you have one or more team members that did not contribute. Okay? Please feel free and interrupt me if you wish to interrupt me. The other thing that we were doing is the penalty was associated to whether or not you had the Google Doc document available in your shared Google Drive. Shockingly enough, there were people that just decided not to bother to use Google Shared Drive. All they did was just uploaded some straight document onto Moodle and that's it. So you lost an additional mark, right? I wonder if there's a group. I think group number 16 is an example of people that decided to do that. If you go to group number 16, this is Baidon, Mutune, and company, right? No Google Drive. And this is another group which is a bad example when it comes to collaboration. If you look at the activity in their shared Google Drive, the only person who is active here is Missy Makando. That's the only person who's doing this, right? If you continue doing this, you continue losing marks. You were told that the other things that haven't been graded, the status reports, you were told to rotate those rows. You will lose marks as a group if you have not been rotating the rows, even though the contents of the status report, really just by submitting that thing, you get a mark, but you get a deduction if you are not collaborating. The plan we have in mind is to ensure that everyone gets to experience what you're doing as part of a group project. Whether you have one or two people that know exactly what it is that's going on, you want to ensure that other people are up to speed with what's going on, which is why you need to collaborate. Stop this, Baidon, Tune, Danny and company, stop doing this. You want to make sure that you collaborate. This is horrible, right? But I was going to mention that these people lost a mark because if you look at their documentation folder, there's no Google Doc document. There's nothing here. Is there a reason why you decided to do that? I think I saw Mutune, or is it Danny or something? He's left now. Okay, they've left. I don't know if there's anybody else who's part of that group. But anyway, so these are things we're taking into account. So you'll notice that this group, if you look at the proposal document itself, you will notice that they lost marks. They lost an additional mark. There's a deduction, and if there was no deduction, we would deduct 1 mark here. But you notice that there's 2 deductions. 1 deduction because they were not collaborating. At least there's no proof that they were collaborating. A deduction because the file is missing from the shared Google Drive, and these instructions were explicitly stated in the assignment specification. Right, so these are things to think about. I hope the breakdown of the marks is pretty intuitive. It makes sense. Any questions, maybe concerns in terms of the breakdown of the marks? Contributions? Complaints? So I don't know if I have a slide here, but I see there's someone here. There's probably one or two people that are still doing things that don't make sense, right? And I'm going to put you on the spot, Musa, here, because it's fine. We want other people to learn from you. I was shocked, right? I was shocked that Musa's team doesn't even know where exactly they're supposed to be putting these documents, right? It's quite sad, really. But if you look at, I wonder where that document is. I wonder where that document is, but maybe it's a group. Anyway, maybe it's in the slides or something. Probably in the, there we go. If you look at, I don't know if you can still see my screen, right? But Mr. Simfukwe here decided to edit this document that has nothing, it's not even in their shared Google Drive, right? This is a document, if you remember, we created and shared a document that we said you should use as a group. I mean, you should use to post questions up front, right? You post questions up front so that we have an idea of what sort of concerns we might have. Musa and company decided to use this document. They actually modified it. If you look at the changes of this document, I created this as using this, I gave it this name, right? Hangouts meet questions. And then at some stage, Musa decided to rename this document, right? To rename it and convert it into a proposal document. Why would you do this? This is worrying, right? It's worrying to me that you don't even know that what you're supposed to be doing actually is going to this folder here. This is a folder that belongs to your group. And actually put the things that are supposed to be edited in here, not what you did, right? Another group that has been doing the wrong things is group number 9, right? If you look at these shared Google Drives here, you were given instructions on how you should name these Google shared drives. If you look at all these project teams, right? Consistency in the names. Group 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 20. But lo and behold, you have group number 9, which decided to do their own thing, right? Why are you doing this? Why would you want to do this, right? What's so hard about just reading through the specification and following the instructions? It can't be that hard, especially at third year. I'm going to be honest with you. At third year, I really expect better from you, right? Not these small little mistakes. These are not even supposed to be mistakes. If it was one person working on this, I would understand. But when you have a group of 5 people, right? A group of 5 people doing this and making this silly mistake, then I get concerned, right? I get concerned because A, it's a sign that maybe the other team members are not active at all, or 2, people are just not concerned about what we're doing. They're not concerned, and what they do is they find themselves panicking towards the end when the deadline comes up, right? So I don't know if people have questions about the grading. You want to fix these issues, group number 9, rename this folder. I'm not going to rename this on your behalf. Rename this folder, because all it does is it's point and click, right click and rename this. If you don't know how to rename this folder, ask either group 1, 2, 5, 6, or 20, 19, 17 to help you rename this folder. Right? Just do the right thing. All right. I'm just going to go quickly to the proposal here, wary of the time. I don't know if there's a comment. I heard a bleeping sound here. Yeah, but what project number are you, Kalima? I did. I marked. I just gave an example of Royce, Victor, Caleb, Sharon and Lastman's team. I just gave an example. If you notice their project, right? I marked them. I provided them with very useful comments, right? But oh my God, if I can just find that document. But where is it? Oh wow, that's a bit weird. I thought the document was there. That's group number 12. Their report was marked, right? It was marked, but of course they got a 0 because they never submitted this document, right? They probably would have gotten a mark if they bothered to collaborate onto the Google Shared Drive, but they would have gotten 56, but they ended up getting a 0 because they never submitted this. And I marked them and I provided them with very useful comments, because I understand that for them to do the correct thing in phase number 2, they need to revise this proposal. Now, I don't know if you bothered to upload your document in here. If I didn't comment on it, then you never bothered to upload it in here. If you didn't bother to upload your document into your shared drive, what am I going to comment on, right? What sort of comments do you expect from me if you didn't submit anything? Yeah, tip number 10, I don't know. If it's tip number 10, it's here. What do you mean? There's comments here. And maybe you've, is this team number 10? You're saying you're team number 10 here. According to me, team number 10 did submit and you got 24%. What are you saying, Kalima? You're confused, I think. Your team submitted. Anyways, if there's anybody else who belongs to Kalima's team and they think that their marks were not, anyway, I see people have lost. If their marks were not, their marks were not uploaded to the Moodle, please do let me know. All right. So something else we did was we had the distribution of the marks, the way they were broken down based on the proposal presentation. You notice that the proposal presentation took into account these different aspects. We're looking at the slides that you submitted, right? Whether or not they had the correct content, these contents that were specified in the rubric, whether you produced a screencast, and whether you, in the screencast and in the slides, you made mention or you at least highlighted the key aspects of the proposal. And that's everything from the content, right? These things here, the project description, the research objectives, project management, right? What we notice is that most of you focused on just describing what it is you are doing and the solution, right? Forgetting to tell us exactly how long it's going to take you. So you lost marks because of this. Group number 16 did a wonderful job, right? The proposal is a high scoring proposal, so they got 82 because they did the right thing, right? So if you play back their presentation, now their slides, right, are not exactly the best of slides here, but if you listen to what they talk about, they talk about everything, right? Down from the description of the project, related work, project management, all the good stuff. The reason they didn't get a high grade is because if you play back their screencast, you'll notice that it was horrible, right? There are some people that had background music playing. There are some people that, I think it was Ilinanga or something, her part of the screencast, right? She was using her phone to get footage of the computer, which I thought was very strange, right? But other than that, they probably would have gotten like a slightly higher score than this. In terms of things that people did good, right? Things like aesthetics. I included project team number 1 as an exemplar. If you look at how they designed their slides, exceptional, right? It looks professional, right? It has visualizations. There's consistency in the formatting, right? If you just look at what they did, I mean, you agree with me that this is perhaps, it deserves an award, right? You can tell that there's some thinking that went into this, a lot of thinking actually, right? If you just look at what they did as as a team here. Wonderful stuff. Good stuff, project team number 1 here. All right. Then again, in terms of, so the screencast, we're looking at quality and content. I was concerned with group number 9, right? I'm looking at the time. I'm just going to focus on people that I thought they could have done better. If you look at group number 9, of all the presenters, only 2 people are audible, right? If you play back their screencast, you notice that only the first 2 speakers were audible. On the, is it the 3-minute mark or something, maybe 4-minute mark, there's no sound whatsoever. And I sat there and I'm thinking, why would you generate a screencast and not bother to play it back as a group, just to verify that everything is okay, right? So these are things to think about, right? You just don't do things because it's a means to an end, because it feels like it's punishment. Just make sure that you do, good work here. In the real world, what you'd be expected to do is a similar thing. You'd imagine doing this as part of the presentation to present your bid, right? You've been selected to say you've won the bid. Can you do a presentation to tell us exactly what you're going to do? If you mess up in the presentation, you likely lose that bid anyways. All right. So I thought I would also make mention of the fact that the Moodle has a new section or new sections where you have exemplar projects that you should use to ensure that you're doing the right thing. I'm just going to pause to see if people are still there. There's a comment here. Yeah, but you can't see any mark because there's no proposal, Musa. What are you talking about? There's no proposal. You had no document there. If you have a document, then you've just put it up there just now. And this is the thing, right? The thing you should be asking yourself here is that if people in your class, people that you've been with since first year, can do this, if they can do this, what's stopping you from doing something similar, or at least doing something that's somewhat closer to this? What exactly is stopping you from doing that? I'll tell you what's stopping you from doing that. It's classic laziness, right? The reason why you have people getting these marks here is because people are not serious. If you look at the people that were getting 9%, look at what they did here, right? Things just don't make sense here. If you compare this block diagram that you come up with here, do you honestly think that this is anywhere close to this? You don't have to take my word for it. If you have a young sibling, ask them, just get a screenshot of this and tell them which one do you like better, this or this, right? You know, this shows the sheer lack of seriousness. If you have people that are, look at this, right? You have incomplete work. This stuff here is from the template, right? If you just look at how this document is structured, it says it's quite sad. And what's even sad is that the people that were performing poorly, if you remember in one of the interactions, I'd mentioned to you that I would give you enough time so that I could prove to you and so that I could do an experiment myself. The people that were getting the low marks are the same people that were requesting for more time. These are the same people, right? And what that tells us is you're just being lazy. You just decide not to bother to put in the work that is required of you. Feel free to ask a question, Lewis. If you have a question, you don't have to ask. Just feel free and interrupt me. What's the question? Lewis, I can't hear what you're saying. I don't know if the others can, but I can't hear what you're saying. You probably want to check your connection, make sure your microphone is working. There's no audio coming from your end. If you can't, maybe just type your question in the chat feature or something. Or if it's a question that one of your colleagues can ask on your behalf, maybe Hawkins and Matthews can help you address that question. Okay. If you have a question, feel free to interrupt. So the exemplars on the Moodle, right? High scoring projects. And also, so we have a section that has high scoring projects and another section that has projects that did the right thing for the different aspects of the proposal. So if you want to learn how to do the correct thing when it comes to aesthetics of your presentation slides, go and look at the slides produced by project team number 1 and project team number 20. If you want to figure out how to do the correct thing insofar as the proposal document is concerned, go and see the things that project team number 20 and 5 did. If you want to improve on how you coordinated as a group when you are doing your proposal presentation, go and see what project team number 1 and project team number 5 did. Brilliant stuff, right? If you want to see what sort of content was supposed to go into the proposal, go and look at the, in terms of content, go and play back the recording by project team number 16 and number 12. And what I have done is I've uploaded all the deliverables, so the project documents and the presentation slides and links to the screencasts that were produced by respective groups, right? All you have to do is just go on the Moodle and you have access to these things. I do encourage you to find time to go through these, especially you go through the high scoring projects and the exemplars so that you improve. And then, I mean, in closing, I wanted to just remind us, right? I wanted to remind us by going through the results from the different groups that you want to take this very seriously. The reason why Matthew's team or Hawkins' team got a higher mark is because they're putting in the effort. Right? These marks are not just going to fall from the sky, right? You need to work hard. You need to ensure that you're doing the correct thing. If you're unclear about something, you reach out to the course instructor. Lighton will be more than happy to get back to you, right? This, to me, is a sign that people are not serious, right? And we know why they were getting this mark. It's because they quickly hacked together a document and then just submitted it. In most instances, submitting something that just doesn't make sense. You want to be like this team here, right? You want to avoid this. You are getting this low mark because you're submitting incomplete work, right? You're submitting something that just looks, it's nowhere close to what we were expecting. You've had more than a month to work on this. Right, look at this. How do you start a document? How do you start a document like this? I mean, this group had a title way after the introduction. This doesn't make sense, right? At third year, really, I expect better from you. I have this as an example because if you think that you're going to do things the way you think is right, then good luck with that. If you don't follow the rules, these rules apply to everybody else. It's not just you. There are no special cases. If you don't follow the rules, you will lose marks, right? If you don't submit work when work is expected to be submitted, you will lose marks. You'll continue losing marks, and you have yourselves to blame, right? This group could have done better. They could have scored 56, but because they decided not to submit their work, they got 0, right? Want to be like this group, right? You want to be serious here. Anyways, so I don't know if people have any specific questions. In closing, I just wanted to remind you that we have class tomorrow. We start requirements engineering at 16 hours, unless if people have concerns about 16 hours. If not, I'll invite questions if people have specific questions. If not, then I'll disconnect and then I'll be on my way home. I have to get home. Oh, so Lewis.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes.
My question is, you talked of group collaboration.
Yes.
And what happens since we are deducting marks of our project since someone didn't collaborate? What happens if the person is just not collaborating and you've tried all possible ways? And why would you remove a mark when it's just a person who has a problem?
Excellent. So what we will do in that case is we penalize that person again. If you notice here, you remember this part? We had a discussion about this. Great question, by the way. Thank you for that. That person will be penalized very, very soon. They will be penalized. They'll lose marks. Also, if that person, if you get to the realization that you actually included a wrong person to the group, you can reach out. If you have 2 or more members that can reach out to Lighton and explain to say, we have this person that has been problematic. Can you, at least for starters, reach out to them and warn them? The second warning will be, I mean, we can always leave it up to you, I guess. We can deduct more marks, or then formally just remove them to the group, consider them not being part of the group, right? So I hope that answers your question. So 2 parts. You can reach out. Of course, your comment will be anonymous. There are people that have reached out to me anonymously, by the way, other groups, not your group. You can do the same thing so that we have a record of people that are not putting in the effort. If you think that you're going to get free marks coming from this by just sitting back and not putting in the effort, you're mistaken, right? Marks will be deducted from what you're doing. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, but I don't see any problem of us being penalized for, as in, like, you've seen the rest are collaborating and it's only one person.
Well, so this is the thing, right? So assuming your group, for instance, has someone who you've reached out and you've told to say collaborate and they're not collaborating, how am I supposed to know that that person is not contributing? What I'm saying is you should formally write to me and tell me, so that as a follow-up step, I would reach out to that person to find out why they're doing that. And if it turns out that that person maybe has decided to, and it happens in life or at UNZA, where a person will just decide to say they'll withdraw from campus, right? They'll decide to come back next year. Maybe that's the case. Maybe this person is seriously sick. Maybe they have another challenge that is preventing them from collaborating. If they've ghosted you, right? In which case, we can revisit your group's marks. If that turns out to be the case for your group, for instance, Hawkins, we will revisit, we'll go back to this mark here and adjust it accordingly, because we would have figured out that the reason why some people are not collaborating is because they've abandoned the course, maybe. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you so
All right,
much.
sir, thanks. Any other concerns or comments? Oh, so Lewis says that was the question. Very well.
Peter, sir, I've got a question.
Okay.
Yeah, for example, if it was a test where you are an individual, then you are sick, you get to write a makeup test. And now this is a group project, maybe you are the only 2 of you are active, the rest are not active. So when one of the members gets sick, only one remains active. And in the end, the work gets affected. So is there an exemption to such kind of situation where there is supporting document that someone was sick in that group?
No, there's no exemption for that because there's redundancy at play. There's a reason why you were told to select, to choose your respective group team members. There's a reason why this is a group project. Elsewhere, this stuff, some of you, the smart ones, have already figured out that this could easily have been done as a one-man project. There's nothing to it, right? So if you think that having 4 or 5 people working on this, and if you have 1 or 2 that have ghosted you or that are not contributing the eco share to the project, if you think that is reason enough to prevent you from putting in the effort here, that doesn't apply. The issue of being sick, that doesn't apply. And I do understand you were sick, but there were some team members, there were people that are part of your group, Peter, that were not sick. A whole bunch of them, actually. And it's not like you've been sick for the last 2 months, no. Right? So that's not an excuse. I'm sorry to have to say that's not an excuse. This also applies to the team that is composed of Musa and Mulima, right? Mulima had a bereavement, and we sympathize with that. But if you look at their group, there are other people that could have at least made an effort to at least submit that work. But because they decided to be lazy, they lost out, right? So you have to, you see, this is an opportunity. Here's the other thing, a reminder. What you've lost out is 4 marks out of the entire course total. This should be an opportunity for you to course correct as a group. Identify what you did not do wrong as part of the analysis phase and make changes. There are certain groups that I have advised to say, if submission of a particular deliverables as a result of a particular team member, then that's a shortcoming of that team member, and it's fine. We're different. People have different problems in life, right? You can't be good at everything. Swap. Give that role, the role of submitting those deliverables onto Moodle to someone that you know is reliable, dependable. Also, what you want to do is have built-in redundancy. Do not rely on one person. Ensure such that you have at least 2 or 3 people that are able to submit that thing on time. In the event that the person who was supposed to be the primary individual to submit that work is unable to do that, you have somebody else who can do that on your behalf. I hope that answers your question, Peter. Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. I'll see you tomorrow then, for those of you that are going to decide to join us. We start requirements engineering, and you will soon see tomorrow that, in fact, as part of the lecture series for tomorrow, there'll already be an assignment that's going to be made available. We start a recitation. And so I do, if you can reach out to me before end of the day, if there's someone who is unavailable at 16 hours tomorrow, we can push the class to, excuse me, we can push the class to maybe, we'll push it to perhaps 17 hours, but we have class tomorrow. So I do hope you'll be able to join us. We have requirements engineering. See you tomorrow, and thank you. Good night.